My wife cheated on me with her boss, and now she's claiming I stole $250, $0 in our divorce. How did I go from trusting her to losing everything over lies and a hidden offshore account? I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife turned out to be nothing but a lying, cheating bitch. Honestly, the whole thing hit me like a freight train. One minute, I was a guy married to the woman I thought I knew. The next, I was discovering she'd been sneaking around with her boss, Mark, for months. And if that wasn't enough, she's now claiming I stole $250,000 in our divorce, hiding some offshore account she's been funneling money into behind my back. It's like everything I trusted just evaporated overnight. Looking back, I guess there were signs. Small things at first: late nights at work, her phone always locked, her being unusually defensive whenever I asked her about her whereabouts. But I brushed them off, convinced she was just stressed or busy. It's a beautiful woman, confident, sharp, a little bitchy sometimes, but I never thought she'd cheat on me, especially not with someone like Mark. He's a slick, arrogant guy who's always been a little too interested in her. Still, I told myself I was crazy for even thinking it. Then came the day I found the text messages. It was supposed to be a regular Sunday. I was cleaning up the garage, and I decided to check her phone because I noticed she was acting weird lately, avoiding eye contact, being overly defensive when I asked about her phone. I didn't expect to see what I did. There in her messages were pictures of her and Mark in what looked like a hotel room, half-dressed, whispering to each other like they were the only two people in the world. It was unmistakable. They'd been sneaking around for months. My stomach dropped. My heart pounded. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I stared at the screen, reading their dirty talk, her calling him babe and telling him how much she loved our secret. I couldn't breathe. I was furious, devastated, humiliated. That was the moment I knew everything I believed in was a lie. This wasn't just a fling. It was a full-blown betrayal. And the worst part, I had no idea how long it had been going on or how deep her lies went. I didn't even know if she'd been lying about other things about us, about the life we built together. I kept my composure for a few hours, but inside I was boiling. I wanted answers. I needed to confront her. I waited until she was home from work that evening, her heels clicking on the floor, her face looking all innocent like she hadn't just been cheating on me with her boss. I was trembling with anger. I confronted her right there, showing her the messages. Her eyes widened, and then she started her usual bullshit. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You're paranoid. Mark is just a friend and you're overreacting. You're ruining everything for us." I couldn't believe how she lied so effortlessly, how she played the victim. She told me I was just jealous, that I was imagining things because I was insecure. She even had the nerve to say that I was the one who was controlling, that I didn't trust her. But I saw the truth plain as day. Her lies, sneaky smirks, her quick excuses, all of it was so transparent. I felt like I was losing my mind. I thought I knew her, I thought I loved her, but now I was questioning everything. How could someone I trusted so deeply turn out to be this manipulative, selfish person? It made me sick to my stomach. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head: her smile, her touch, her lies. I was filled with a mix of heartbreak and rage. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. All those years, all those moments I thought were special, and now I saw her for who she really was. I knew I had to do something, but I didn't know what yet. I just knew I couldn't keep going like this, living with the betrayal, the lies, the secret offshore account she'd probably been hiding for months. My mind was racing with questions, and I knew the worst was yet to come. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything except the betrayal that was staring me right in the face. Every time I looked at, I saw her differently: her fake smiles, her quick excuses, the way she'd lie with such ease. I started digging more into her phone, her emails, anything that might give me some clarity. That's when I found the offshore account. It was hidden deep in some shell company she'd set up in the... I couldn't believe it. All that money, nearly $250, $0, just vanished into some offshore account she'd kept secret from me from day one. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she betray me and then hide a fortune like that? I started to piece things together: her secret meetings, the late nights, the way she'd suddenly become distant and cold. It all made sense now. wasn't just cheating, she was planning her escape. She wanted out, and she'd been setting up her new life with Mark and her offshore stash, while I was left clueless, drowning in debt and betrayal. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time with everything I'd uncovered. I sat her down in the living room, my hands trembling, voice steady but cold. I laid out everything, the texts, the hotel photos, the offshore account. Her face changed then. Flicker of panic, maybe even guilt, but she quickly masked it with a bitchy smirk. "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. That account, it's just some investments. You're overreacting as usual. You're paranoid." I didn't buy her bullshit anymore. I told her I knew about the money, about her lying to me from the start. I demanded she come clean. She kept denying, throwing out more lies. "I was just trying to secure our future," she claimed. "You don't understand how the business world works. It's complicated, and Mark was helping me with investments." Yeah, right. Mark, who she claimed was just a friend, was suddenly her financial advisor. It was obvious she'd been planning this escape for a long time. That's when I started to realize how deep her deception ran. She convinced herself that her lies were justified, that she was doing this for us, for our future. But I saw through it. All I could feel was this cold, burning sense of betrayal. I'd trusted her with everything, my heart, my money, my future, and she'd thrown it all away for some quick sex with her boss and a stash of offshore cash. I felt sick thinking about how much she'd lied, how much she'd hurt me. And I knew this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about her trying to run away with a fortune she'd hidden from me. The worst part, I was starting to see how she played the victim every time I confronted her. She'd cry, call me paranoid or insecure, accuse me of controlling her. She'd twist everything around, make me feel like I was the one in the wrong. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I was done being the naive husband who trusted her blindly. I needed a plan. I needed to make her pay for what she'd done. I wasn't just going to let her walk away with my life, my money, and my dignity. No way. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how much she'd been lying. I started to think about the future, about how I could fight back. I knew I needed legal help, but I also wanted to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, that I wasn't just some fool she could cheat on and then walk all over. I'd come too far to let her get away with this. The sting of betrayal was sharp, but it also lit a fire inside me. I was determined to take back control, no matter what it took. Over the next few days, everything escalated. I started gathering every piece of evidence I could find: bank statements, emails, text messages, anything that proved her deception. I also hired a private investigator to follow her around, just to confirm my suspicions. The pie came back with more than I expected. She'd been meeting Mark in secret, not just for sex, but apparently discussing how to move her offshore money, how to hide assets, and even how to cut me out completely. It was like a full-blown conspiracy. Meanwhile, kept up her act, acting like the innocent victim. She'd burst into tears whenever I brought up her lies, claiming I was paranoid, accusing me of spying on her because I didn't trust her. "You're just jealous," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You think I'd cheat on you if I didn't have a reason. Maybe you're the one with issues." She'd call me insecure, controlling, manipulative, anything to deflect from her own guilt. It made me sick watching her spin her web of lies, trying to make me look like the bad guy. One day she even had the nerve to accuse me of stealing money myself. "You're the one who's been hiding something," she spat during one of our fights. "Maybe you're the one with the offshore accounts, huh? Maybe you're the one trying to set me up." I just stared at her, stunned. How could she lie so effortlessly? I knew she was trying to turn the tables, but I had proof she was the one who'd been planning her escape all along. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt like I was losing my mind. One moment I was furious, ready to tear her apart. The next, I was overwhelmed with sadness and regret for ever trusting her. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I let someone like her into my life? The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I started questioning everything about myself, about our marriage, about the future I thought we had. But I also knew I had to be strategic. I couldn't just confront her again without a plan. I started talking to lawyers, figuring out my rights. I was determined to get control of the situation before she managed to drain everything away or hide even more assets. I discovered that she'd been funneling money into that offshore account for well over a year. She'd hidden millions in shell companies, fake invoices, and secret transfers. It was like she'd built a whole secret empire, one I had no clue about until now. The most shocking part was realizing she'd been lying about her finances the entire time. She told me she was just a stay-at-home wife, that she had no secret stash. But behind my back, she'd been planning her escape, cooking up stories, creating a new life for herself and Mark. I felt a mix of rage and helplessness. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted her after everything I'd seen? It was like waking up from a nightmare, only this nightmare was real and it was destroying everything I knew. I remember sitting alone one night, staring at the ceiling, trying to process all this. I felt betrayed, angry, and betrayed again for feeling betrayed. But amid all that chaos, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I was going to fight for what was mine, for my dignity, and for the truth. I knew it wouldn't be easy. I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation, maybe even lie her way out of it. But I also knew I had enough evidence to expose her. I was ready to take her to court, to demand an accounting of all her hidden assets and to make sure she paid for her lies. That's when I realized I wasn't just fighting for money anymore. I was fighting to reclaim my life, to stop her from destroying everything I'd worked for, and to stop her from hurting me any further. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my marriage, my savings, or my sanity. The game was on now, and I was determined to come out on top. The legal process moved quickly once I had all my evidence lined up. I hired a lawyer who specialized in high-net-worth divorces, and from that moment, everything shifted into overdrive. I knew was going to fight dirty. She always played the victim, so I had to be prepared for her to spin stories, to lie, to manipulate. She was good at it. Her smile, her bitchy attitude, her way of twisting words. She'd mastered the art of making herself look innocent even when she was clearly guilty. She kept insisting I was the one stealing money, trying to turn the tables again, but I had bank statements, wire transfer records, and her own emails to prove otherwise. I presented her with the offshore account details, the shell companies, the fake invoices, everything. It was like a house of cards. Once the truth started to come out in court, she panicked. Her face turned pale and she started throwing tantrums, claiming I was trying to ruin her, that I was the real criminal here. She even accused me of hacking her phone, trying to find dirt on her, which was laughable. I didn't need to hack anything. She'd left the trail herself. Meanwhile, Mark was nowhere to be seen. I knew she'd been talking to him about our divorce, about how to hide the money, how to cut me out. I hired a private investigator to follow Mark too. Turns out, he's got a whole string of offshore accounts and secret properties in his name. The guy was a scam artist, and I had enough evidence to have him investigated for money laundering. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction knowing I was exposing everyone involved, but didn't go down without a fight. She started threatening me with lawsuits, claiming I was trying to ruin her reputation and that I was the one who'd been stealing all along. She even hired her own team of lawyers to try to block the discovery of her offshore accounts. It was a war of attrition. I was relentless, pushing forward with the evidence, refusing to back down. Every day was a new battle, every court date a test of my resolve. Emotionally, I was drained. I'd gone from trusting her completely to doubting everything, her words, her actions, her very integrity. I felt betrayed, angry, and betrayed again for feeling betrayed, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized that I had been naive, too trusting, and that I'd let her manipulate me for years. Now I was fighting to reclaim what was mine, my money, my dignity, my life. I couldn't let her walk away with everything she tried to hide. I knew this wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about justice, about making her face the consequences of her lies. As the court proceedings dragged on, I started to see the bigger picture. This entire facade was crumbling. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations, all of it was falling apart under the weight of the truth. And I was the one holding the pieces. I felt vindicated but also exhausted from the fight. Still, I knew I couldn't stop now. I had to keep pushing, keep fighting for what was rightfully mine. I was determined that she wouldn't get away with this, that her lies and betrayal wouldn't destroy me. And honestly, it felt good to finally be taking control after feeling so powerless for so long. I was done being the victim. Now I was the one fighting back. The courtroom battles were intense and the pressure was relentless. S legal team tried every trick in the book, filing motions to delay, claiming I was trying to manipulate the process and spinning her own version of the story that made her look like the victim. But I had the evidence, and I made sure it was airtight. Every bank statement, every wire transfer, every offshore account detail was presented with precision. I watched her face twist with frustration as her lies crumbled under the weight of facts. What really pushed her over the edge was when my lawyer uncovered her hidden offshore account, owned in her name with millions stashed away, completely concealed from me. That was the moment her bitchy mask cracked. She started shouting, claiming I was trying to ruin her, that I was a controlling monster. But her voice cracked when I showed her the bank records, the offshore account statements, and the fake invoices she'd generated to funnel money out of our joint accounts. It was all there, undeniable. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and bitterness. Satisfaction because I was finally exposing her for what she truly was, someone willing to betray her vows, manipulate her way into millions, and lie her way out of accountability. Bitterness because I realized how much she'd hurt me, how much I'd lost in the process. Our marriage, my trust, my peace of mind. But I also knew I had to stay strong. If I let her manipulate her way out of this, she'd win. And I wasn't about to let that happen. In the midst of all this, I learned some harsh truths about her. She'd been planning her escape for over a year, setting up accounts, buying property in her name, funneling money offshore. She'd even lied about her income, claiming she was just a stay-at-home wife, when in reality she was actively laundering money and hiding assets. It made me sick to think I'd been so blind, so trusting. I started questioning everything. How long she'd been planning this, what else she'd hidden, what kind of person she really was. The emotional toll was heavy. I was angry at her, yes, but also deeply hurt. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs, how I'd been so naive. I was furious at her for throwing away everything we'd built, for lying to my face for years. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. Finally, the truth was out. The lies, the betrayal, the offshore accounts, they were all exposed. I felt like I was finally taking control of my life again, even if the scars would stay with me forever. The final hearing was a turning point. The judge ordered her to disclose all her assets, including the offshore accounts she'd fought so hard to hide. I knew the fight wasn't over yet, but I could see the end approaching. I was ready to cut my losses, to start over, and to rebuild my life free from her manipulation. I'd learned a lot through this nightmare, about trust, about betrayal, and about the importance of being vigilant. But most of all, I learned that I was stronger than I thought. I wasn't going to let her destroy me. Not this time. The day the court finally ordered her to disclose everything felt like a small victory, but honestly, it was more like a relief. Seeing her face when she realized her carefully constructed lies were crumbling was satisfying in a way I couldn't quite describe. She knew her empire of deceit was collapsing, and her bitchy, manipulative attitude finally cracked for good. I sat there, watching her, feeling a strange mixture of anger, disappointment, and a quiet sense of justice. In the aftermath, she was forced to surrender her offshore accounts, her properties, and the money she'd been hiding. The judge ordered her to pay back a significant portion of the money she'd stolen, and the divorce was finalized soon after. I walked away with what was legally mine, my savings, my investments, and some semblance of peace. She, on the other hand, was left with nothing but her lies and a reputation in ruins. I couldn't help but feel a little bit of satisfaction knowing she'd been caught, that her manipulations had been exposed for everyone to see. The emotional scars, of course, linger. I still wake up some mornings feeling betrayed, questioning if I ever truly knew her at all. But I also feel empowered. I learned a hard lesson about trust, about how people can hide their true selves behind a veneer of charm and bitchiness. More than anything, I learned that I am capable of fighting back, of standing up for myself even when it feels like the world is against me. Looking back now, I realize that this experience has changed me. I'm more cautious, more guarded, but also more aware of the importance of trust and honesty. I want to believe in love again someday, but I won't make the mistake of trusting blindly. I'll be more vigilant, more prepared, and I'll never let someone manipulate me the way did. She thought she could get away with her lies, her betrayal, her theft. But in the end, her own deception was her downfall. I've moved on, though it's not easy. I'm rebuilding my life, focusing on my career and my kids, because, despite everything, I still believe in family and second chances. But I'll never forget what I went through, and I'll always remember that even the most charming, bitchy women can hide dark secrets. The pain was real, but so was the strength I found in myself. And that's what I hold on to now.